after all the victories we have won, I see you clearly. Looking back on hindsight, see you've always done what's best for me. Your ways are so impeccable. So here's my declaration, wings to resound throughout the nations, throughout the nations. I'm joyful, grateful, I have you. Songs of praise we sing for you, and all our eyes we fix on you. You're so incredible, you're truly incredible. After all the things you've done, and after all the victories we have, I see you clearly. Looking back on hindsight, I see you've always done what's best for me. Your ways are so impeccable. So here's my declaration, please give it wings to resound throughout the nations, throughout the nations. Oh, joyful, grateful, I have you, and only you. Praise we sing for you, Jesus. Truly incredible. We join the heavens to sing hallelujah. We sing with angels as you pour out joy. We join the heavens to sing hallelujah. We lift our hands, we sing with angels as you pour out joy. We join the heavens to sing hallelujah. We sing with angels as you pour out your joy upon us today, God. We join the heavens to sing hallelujah, hallelujah. We sing with angels as you pour out joy. Joyful, grateful, I have you. Songs of praise we sing for you. Jesus, Jesus, all our hearts we fix on you. You're so incredible, truly incredible. You're so incredible, truly incredible. Oh, you're so incredible, truly incredible. You're so incredible. My life, my heart, incredible. I'm joyful and grateful, I have you. Songs of sing for you, and all our eyes only to you, Father. You're so incredible, truly incredible. You're so incredible, Father. You're truly incredible. I sing with all my heart, I sing with all my
Summit Church ladies, we want to take this time to say Happy Mother's Day to all of our beautiful mothers. We especially want to say Happy Mother's Day to our First Lady, Sister Candy, who's a brand new mom, and the Princess is here. Congratulations and Happy Mother's Day. One of my favorite quotes is, "It's not always what you do, but who you raise." And we just want to say thank you to the amazing mothers out there who are raising some incredible world changers. We hope that today is special for you, that God renews your strength during this time, and that you have a wonderful day. Happy Mother's Day.
The psalmist says, I will exalt you, O God, my King. I will bless your name forever and ever. Are you ready to bless the name of the Lord, church? I invite you to praise his name with us.
Jesus, name above all names, the one
declaring the word of the Lord. And these are the days of your servant Moses, righteousness being restored. And these are the days of great trial, of famine and darkness and war. So we are the voice in the desert, crying, preparing the way of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet's call, lift your voice, you're a jubilee. Out of Zion's hill, salvation. These are the days of Ezekiel, the dry bones becoming of flesh. And these are the days of your servant David, rebuilding a temple of praise. And these are the days of the harvest, the fields are as wide and the world. And we are the laborers in your vineyard, declaring the word of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet's call, lift your voice, year of jubilee. Out of Zion's hill, salvation comes. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet's call, lift your voice, year of jubilee. Out of Zion's hill, salvation comes. Ain't no God like Jehovah. 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 There's 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 no God like Jehovah. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet's call, lift your voice, year of jubilee. Out of Zion's hill, salvation comes. Oh, there is no one like our God. Oh, there is none like you, God. There is none like Jehovah. Oh, blessed be the name of the Lord. Oh, we lift your name on high, God. Oh, we exalt you. Oh, we give you the praise, God.
It was my cross you bore, so I could live.
and amazed in your love undeniable. Your grace goes on, and I will sing of your goodness forevermore. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve our praise. Worthy is your name.
You deserve the praise. We exalt you, Lord. We exalt you. Oh, be exalted now in the heavens as your glory fills this place. You alone deserve our praise. You're the name above all names.
Be exalted now in the heavens as your glory fills this place. You alone deserve our praise. You're the name above all names. Be exalted now in the heavens as your glory fills this place. You alone deserve our praise. You're the name above all names. Be exalted now in the heavens as your glory fills this place. You alone deserve our praise. You're the name above all names. Be exalted now in the heavens as your glory fills this place. You alone deserve our praise. You're the name above all names. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve our praise. Worthy is your name.
Only you are worthy of our praise, God. Oh, you are a miracle working God. Oh, as you did miracles now. And that's why we praise you. And that's why we sing to you. Because you are worthy, oh God. Oh, you are worthy, God.
My every fear, I believe in you. I believe you're the God of miracles. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. The one who does impossible is reaching out to make me whole. Is reaching out to make me whole. The one who put the death in place. His life is flowing through my veins. His life is flowing through my veins. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles.
I believe in you. You're the God of miracles.
Praise the Lord, Summit Church. What an amazing worship we just experienced. We've come to a special part in our service, which is our time to give. We thank God for the blessings that He continuously pours out upon us, and we thank you so much for giving faithfully. There's a few ways you can give. You can give online at summitchurch.life. You can also text the number below, the word give. If you have any questions or need help, please reach out to our finance team. We are here to help you. God bless you.
My name is Isabella, and my favorite part of Mom is to lay down together.
My name is VJ, and I love Mommy when she makes breakfast for me. We love you, Mom.
What makes Mom special, Aiden?
Because she prays with me.
Why do you love Mom?
Why I love Mom is because she helps me.
Nathan, what makes Mom special?
What makes my mom special is that she gives me great food.
Why do you love Mom?
I love my mom because she loves me. I love you, Mom.
Say, Mommy,
Mommy,
I love you.
I love you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. The thing I love most about my mom is the food she cooks for me. I love my mom because she gave me hope.
Okay, happy Mama's
Mama
Day.
Day.
Say yay!
Day.
Praise the Lord, Summit Church. We're so thankful to be with you once again on this beautiful Sunday. As many of you know, we had our baby daughter on Wednesday, and we're able to have her home with us now. It was such an amazing blessing to be able to hold her in our arms and to be able to have her with us. During this beautiful experience, I was able to see my wife and how she protected her daughter, how she loved her daughter, and how she simply cared for her that in a way that only a mother can do. Today's a beautiful day as we celebrate each one of our mothers. Some of us still have our mothers with us. Others, our mothers have gone to heaven, but their memory still lives on in our hearts and in our minds. For others, they might have not had a mother, but I truly believe that there's been women in your life that have impacted your life and that were like a mother to you. And others maybe that don't have any children, and maybe this is a bit of an awkward day for you. I want to encourage you to adopt somebody and be their spiritual mother. There's so many people out there that need care, that need love, that need that touch that only a woman can give. So I challenge you to take that time and maybe call somebody, maybe text somebody, and give them that word of encouragement that they need. Because everybody has been impacted by a woman in their lives. Everybody can attribute certain things to their mother, to their spiritual mother, to that woman that was like a mother to them and guided them to the place where they are now. George Washington said it like this: "My mother was the most beautiful woman I ever saw, and all I owe is to my mother." Thomas Edison said this: "My mother was the making of me. She was so true and so sure of me, I felt I had someone to live for, someone I must not disappoint." And Abraham Lincoln said it like this in one sentence: "All that I am or ever hope to be, I owe to my angel mother." Each one of us has had a woman in our lives that has impacted us in such a way. I know my mother has impacted me in such a beautiful way that she's brought me to the point where I am now. I want to thank my mother for everything that she's done for me, and my beautiful wife for being a mother to my children. As we have been speaking about this man named Moses, we've been able to see about the great accomplishments that this man has done. In chapter 12 all the way to chapter 17, we've been able to see so many great things that this man has done and so many great things that this man has accomplished through the power of God. But if we take some time and revert back to chapter 1 and chapter 2, we're going to be able to see the woman that impacted this man's life. The woman that caused this man to be in the place that he is as a man. I truly believe that these women that impact our lives propel us to the future that God has for each and every one of us. And this woman in Moses' life took it upon herself to dedicate time, to dedicate passion, to dedicate love and attention to this young child named Moses. But see, this woman wasn't just any woman. She was a woman that was able to impact her whole family. Moses was a leader of Israel in the future. Aaron became the first high priest of Israel. And Miriam was great as a poet and a singer and a great woman of God who was able to minister to thousands. Each one of these people was able to accomplish great feats and accomplish amazing things, but their mother had so much to do with their development. Their mother had so much to do with the growth in their life that was able to propel them to this wonderful future that we're able to speak of now. If your mother is there next to you right now, or maybe if you're not able to be with her at this moment, maybe she's somewhere else, I'm going to ask you to send her a text right now and just tell her that you love her. If she's right next to you, I'm going to ask you just to hug her and give her a kiss and tell her that you love her. Because each one of these women in our lives, like the mother of Moses, has impacted us and has brought us up to the point where we are now. They have said words into our lives. They they have motivated us in such a way that they have brought us to this point in our lives that we've created and where we are sitting right now. See, each one of our mothers is special. Whether you're a physical mother or a spiritual mother or a mother to somebody that simply needs it, you're special. And you've impacted the lives of so many people. And as the devil begins to understand the beauty and the wonder of a mother, the devil begins to find different avenues to attack this upcoming generation. He tries to figure out ways to hinder what this generation can do. And we find this happens in the story of Israel and in the story of Moses in chapter 1. The first thing that the enemy does is that he begins to see as Pharaoh takes power, the new Pharaoh takes power, we find that he begins to be scared and he's a little concerned and worried because the people of Israel were growing in number. They were multiplying in such a way that Pharaoh was becoming scared. The enemy can see what the church can accomplish. He can see what the upcoming generation can do. He can see the potential that lies dormant sometimes. And when he sees these things, the enemy begins to attack us in such a way to destroy the upcoming generation. That's exactly what Pharaoh did. He saw the potential. He saw them growing. And his attack wasn't against the older generation. His attack was not to the elderly, but his attack was to kill every young boy that was born. His attack was to ensure that he would destroy not the current generation, but the upcoming generation that was growing. This is a beautiful and amazing tactic that the enemy uses against the church. But it's beautiful for this reason, and I'll explain it right now. See, the enemy will come and try to destroy the upcoming generation. The generation that has the potential. The enemy sees what the church can do. And because he sees the potential of the church, he comes and attacks this church in such a way that he tries to hinder the upcoming generation. But this attack is beautiful because it only shows us the amazing weapon that we have. We have women that are willing to stand up for what they believe in. Women that are willing to bend a knee and begin to pray for their children. Women that are willing to fight for the upcoming generation. So many times we're focusing on what's going on right now, on our future lives. But these women, these women are looking out for the upcoming generation. That generation that is defenseless right now. That generation that might not have any hope right now. That generation that might be losing their hope in God. There are those women that are willing to stand up and fight for that generation and say, I'm going to pray. I'm going to give them those words that they need. I'm going to give them that love that they need, because this world is not going to take the generation that is coming, because there are women that are willing to stand up for the truth. Women that are willing to fight for this upcoming generation. See, this mother of Moses was willing to fight for her child. She was willing to fight for what was coming. But if the enemy cannot destroy us by destroying the next generation, in chapter 2, verse 9 and 10, we find the second tactic that he will try to use. If he can't destroy the generation that is coming, he wants to keep the generation that is coming. The Bible tells us that this baby Moses came into the hands of Pharaoh's daughter, and when she saw him, she was captivated by him and wanted to keep him, wanted to have him, wanted to be his mother. She wanted to take authority over this child. And as the world begins to see the beauty of the children that are taught the Word of God, the beauty of the gifts that God gives this generation through the future generation of our children, the enemy sees that beauty. He's captivated by that beauty, that wonder that can come by that child. And they want to keep it. They want to have it on their own. They want to say, these children are mine. They want to entice the upcoming generation to keep them. And this is their greatest weapon against us. If they can't destroy us, they want to keep our children. They want to keep the upcoming generation and tell us, they're mine. I'm going to be their mother. I'm going to raise them. I'm going to give them the words that they need to hear. I am going to be their mother. This world wants to take our children captive and entice them in such a way that they belong to them now. Oh, but I thank God. I thank God for each one of those mothers. Each one of those mothers that wakes up at 3 a.m. to pray for their children. Each one of those mothers that cries for their children and says, Lord, protect my children. Lord, keep my children. I remember waking up at 3 a.m. and hearing a voice in the distance of my mother praying for me, saying, Lord, keep them safe. Don't let them be lost. Don't let them be lost, Lord. Protect them. Don't let them fall. Don't let them falter. Because this world wants to influence us in such a way that it wants to become our mother. It wants us to listen to it. Oh, but those mothers that are willing to pray, those mothers that are willing to bend the knee and cry and call out to God and say, God, protect my children. Those are the types of mothers that we need. Those mothers that are willing to cry and dedicate hours in prayer for their children. That is what has held our church up. That is what has held the gospel from continuing forward. That is what has held us pushing forward day in and day out. Those prayers of those mothers, those prayers of those women that are unwilling to falter, unwilling to give up, but those prayers of those women that are willing to push forward and make things happen. You know, one beautiful thing I've learned, that if you want things to happen, you gather all the older sisters in the church, you ask them to pray, and something's going to happen. There's just power when these women begin to pray. There's power when women begin to bend their knees. There's power in being a mother, whether it's a physical, spiritual mother, but there's power in each one of you as women. And Moses' mom does 3 different things that I want to share with you today. 3 different attributes that characterize her as being such an amazing mother. A mother that influenced her child in such a powerful way that she was able to mold these children to impact the future generations. How do you do this? How do you accomplish taking your children to such great feats? How are you able to take your children in the midst of death, in the midst of slavery, in the midst of horrible situations? How do you become and take your child to become one of the most powerful leaders in the world after living in such turmoil? The power of a mother. You have that power. Let me share with you these 3 different things that she did. And I pray that you apply them in your life. And as I said, if you don't have any children, adopt some spiritual children. If your children are older, adopt a spiritual child that you can guide, that you can motivate. Because the enemy wants to take captive, wants to kill this generation. And it wants to be the mother of this upcoming generation. But you have the power to change the trajectory of the world through what you do. So what does this woman do to have such an impact? We find the first thing that she does. We find it in Exodus chapter 2, verse 22. But see what's beautiful, it said this is also mentioned in Acts chapter 7, verse 20. And it's also mentioned in Hebrews 11, 23. She speaks love. She speaks love. This woman held this child in her hands. And as she holds this child in her hands, this defenseless child, in the midst of a world that was destroying and killing all of these children, in the midst of chaos, she holds a defenseless child in her hands. But she doesn't see a defenseless child. She doesn't see a child that is about to be killed. She sees a child that is beautiful. She sees a child that is godly. She sees a child that has potential. She speaks love. She mentions this in verse 2 of chapter 2. As she grabs this child, she says that she sees him as a beautiful child, as a godly child. She sees great potential in this child. See, one of the characteristics of this woman is that even though her children might have not been at that place yet, maybe they weren't the leaders that they were expecting yet. Maybe they weren't the priests that they were expecting yet. Maybe they weren't the singers, the preachers, those wonderful, smart people that we saw in the future. But this woman already saw that in them. This woman began to speak love into her children. This woman grabbed a hold of that child, held him in her hands, and she didn't see a defenseless child. She saw a child with potential. She saw a great leader. She saw a great man, a man that was willing to be protected, a man that should be protected. What do you see when you see those children? That young child running around in the hallway. That young child throwing a toy at you. That young child, that young daughter that runs around and breaks things. What do you see in that child? Do you see a child that is defenseless? A child that is rambunctious? A child that is so hyper he can't stop? Or do you see a leader in potential? Do you speak love into that child and say, you're going to be a great man of God. You're going to be a great woman of God. Do you see a stuttering child walking in the hallway and tell them, God is going to use you in a great way? See, there are women in our lives that have impacted us in such a way because they speak love. They don't speak what is going on around us. The circumstance shows treachery. The circumstance shows murder. The circumstance shows something horrific and horrendous going on around us. But this woman sees a man of God. This woman sees a leader. Oh, sisters, this is what we need. We need women that are willing to see that potential. Women that are willing to say, your God is going to do great things with you. God is going to bless you. See, growing up with all my deficiencies, all my problems, there was a woman there, my mother, that would always tell me, you're going to do great things. You're going to be amazing. I didn't even believe it at that point. But there was a woman that was willing to speak love. A woman that was willing to speak potential into my life. That was willing to say something that wasn't there yet, but able to speak that love into our lives. Are you willing to speak that love into the children that surround you? Into this coming generation that needs so much the touch of a woman. We're surrounded by so many different influences, so many different things that are going on. But we need those women that are able to speak that life into those horrible situations. To speak that love into those horrible situations that we're going through. Those women that are able to see not a defenseless child, but a leader, a musician, a preacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a president. Women that are able to see something that is not there as if it was already. She held the child in her hands and said, he's a godly child. He's a beautiful child. See, the book of Proverbs always shows us two sides. It shows us the wonder and the things that we need to do as fathers. But it always ends, if you read it, you're going to find out it always ends, but your mother will give you this. Your mother will help you in this. Proverbs 4:3 tells us, for I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. It is the loved part that our mother gives us. Those words of love that she speaks into our lives that are able to push us forward and propel us into a future that will change not only our lives, but potentially the lives of the future generation. What type of mother do you want to be? What type of spiritual mother do you want to be? The second thing that this woman does is found in verse 3. As she sees this child that she sees potential in, and because she sees so much potential in this child, she's willing to have creative faith. This woman didn't just have faith that God was going to protect her child. This woman was creative in her faith. This woman said, I have to figure something out. It's not enough just to speak words of love to my child. I have to figure something out so my child can survive. I have to have a creative faith. And this woman began to look around, and I can imagine she was, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Pharaoh wants to destroy my child. Pharaoh wants to kill my child. What do I do now? And I can imagine, she said, well, the last place they're probably going to look is in an infested Nile. Infested Nile that has alligators everywhere. That's probably the last place that they're going to look for a baby. And she begins to work and build an ark for this child. And she builds it, prepares it, and puts her child in that ark. See, when mothers begin to speak love into their children's lives, they begin to be creative in their faith. They begin to think of ways on how to protect their children. And that creative faith is what impacts us in such a way that we're unwilling to bend in our future. That creative faith is what pushed Moses to do some supernatural things that he knew couldn't happen because his mom had a creative faith. All of us have a story when we had nothing, when we were lacking in different areas. But I remember so many times vividly when my mother's faith wasn't just a faith, but it was a creative faith. A faith that will look beyond the situation and begin to think God can do amazing things in this time. A creative faith that would take us to the store with no money, expecting to buy food. A creative faith that would push us and propel us to believe in the God of the impossible. A creative faith that would make us believe that God can heal us of any sickness. A creative faith that we would know that God would always sustain us. See, that creative faith is what will sustain the upcoming generation. That creative faith is what will push the generation to never give up, but trust in a God of the impossible. So many stories that have impacted our life in such a way because of creative faith. Can you be that woman that has that creative faith for the upcoming generation? That woman that believes in the God of the impossible? See, every time we run into difficult situations, the first thing that comes to my mind are all those miracles in that creative faith that God did for our family. Every time that I'm going through something that seems impossible, I remember those times when my mom was creative in her faith, that she would take us to the store with no money whatsoever and believe that God would provide as we're shopping. Anytime I run through difficult times, I remember that time when we were sick and we would pray and God would heal us. My mom would tell us stories about my grandmother and my grandfather and the great things that happened in their lives because their creative faith pushed her to be creative in her faith. And her creative faith is pushing us to believe in the God of the impossible. See, we're in the business of faith. We believe in a God of the impossible. But it requires a woman, it requires somebody to be able to be creative in their faith, to push this next generation to believe in the God of the impossible. It requires somebody to begin to believe that God can accomplish great feats, that God can still heal the sick, that God can still provide for my needs, that God can still do the impossible. It requires somebody to believe that so that this next generation can grow up saying, I remember when that happened. Creative faith will move us and push us into a new dimension and push this next generation into something that they've never seen and accomplish things that we've never seen. We need creative faith in our lives. And the last thing that this woman does after speaking love, after having creative faith, is found in verse 10. And this is probably one of the most impactful things that I was able to read through the story because this woman had exemplary courage. See, after Pharaoh takes the child, Pharaoh's daughter takes the child, they find a mother for it, somebody who can nurse the child. Moses' mom has the privilege of being able to do this. That's a blessing on its own. But the hardest thing is found in verse 10. As the instructions from Pharaoh's daughter were, I want you to nurse the child, and when he is ready, I want you to bring him back to me and give him to me. How hard would it have been for this mother who just received her child once again, feed her child, begin to raise her child. And when we get to verse 10, she has to take him back to Pharaoh's daughter, give him to Pharaoh's daughter, and we find that Pharaoh's daughter then names him there Moses. This woman gives him this name afterwards. How hard would it have been to have held that child in your arms, fed that child, carried that child, and then when it's time, take him back to Pharaoh's daughter? This required courage. This required a courage like none I've never seen before. This woman had to truly believe that God would take care of him. This woman had to truly believe that her prayer, that her words of affirmation, that her faith had impacted this child so much that he would never forget. That's courage. to send out your child into this world, believing that the child will be strong, believing that the child will never give up, believing that the child will believe in one God, believing that the child would have supernatural faith. That's courage. This woman had such an exemplary courage that it impacted Moses' life like never before. I can imagine that's why Moses was willing to go back to Egypt. Moses was willing to do what he did because he picked up his courage from his mother. His mother gave him the example that no matter how hard things might seem, God does everything. God works in everything for good for those that love Him. God ensures that He will protect us. The courage of this woman drove this man to push like never before. The courage of you women would influence the upcoming generation like never before. Courage to stand up for what is right. Courage to speak the truth. Courage to know that you've done what is right. This woman had courage to take her son back to Pharaoh's daughter. See, time and time again, we must send our children, we must send this generation out into this world. We must send them out into the arms of someone else. But we know that there are women that are praying. We know that there are women that have given words of love. We know that there are women that have shown that faith. We know that there are women that have had courage that's exemplary to all of us. And that is what will shape this upcoming generation when they're sent out into the world. I believe with all of my heart that each one of you women that is listening, each one of you women that hears what I'm saying, is going to take up this challenge. A challenge not just to be a woman, but rather to be a woman that is willing to have a faith that is supernatural, creative faith. Those women that speak love, speak potential, and speak future into our children. And those women that are willing to be exemplary in their courage. When everybody else wasn't willing to, this woman was willing to stand. See, we don't hear much about his father, but we hear that his mother was willing to have that courage. We hear that his mother was willing to be creative in her faith. And we hear that his mother was willing to speak those words of love. It is each one of you that will shape the upcoming generation with your words, with your faith, and with your courage. Because now more than ever, we need strong women. We need women filled with faith. And we need those women that are willing to speak the truth. Because our world needs, it desperately needs strong women. This world has been trying to destroy us time and time again. But I believe that these women will stand. These women will stand and begin to speak love. These women will stand in faith. We will see miracles happen. We will see wonders happen. We will see things that will impact the coming generations. We will see women that will be courageous now more than ever to impact the coming generations that will say, I remember when my mother had faith. I remember when my mother had courage like never before. I remember the words that my mother gave me that have impacted my life like never before. Sisters, we want to see your faith. Your children want to see your faith. They want to hear those words, and they want to see that courage that will shape this upcoming generation into the most powerful leaders, the most influential men and women that we've ever seen, and the men and women that are used by God like never before. But there has to be that woman that speaks love, that woman that is creative in her faith, and that woman that is courageous. See, so many times the world has tried to stifle our women, try to stifle them in such a way that all you do is certain things. But I truly believe that in the example of Moses' mom, we can see the courage that we need to have, that creative faith, and those words that resounded for years to come. Because even though she was not able to see Moses come back and free the people, we're still speaking about what she did as a mother. What are you going to do as a mom, as a spiritual mother, as a woman of God? What are you going to do? The enemy will try to stifle our generation, the upcoming generation, by giving us powerless, faithless women that are unwilling to speak the truth. But I truly believe that there are women that are listening to me right now that are going to stand like never before, that are going to speak words of love, that are going to believe in a creative faith like never before, that we're going to see miracles happen. I saw miracles happen when my mother prayed. What miracles are you going to have happen in your household? Women that have courage to stand up for what is right. Women that have courage to push and make things happen like never before. Because that's what we need now. We need women that are willing to stand with courage. Women that are willing to stand with faith. And women that are willing to speak the truth and love. I challenge you. Speak those words. They could be shaping the greatest leader. Speak that creative faith. Put it into action. They could be shaping the next prophet. And have that courage to push forward. They could be shaping a warrior that will free this upcoming generation. I challenge you. Let's be that generation that will change the trajectory and change the generations to come. If you're there with your mom, I ask you just to pray with her right now. But I'm going to ask something a little different. Usually we pray for our mothers, but I'm going to ask you as a mother to speak words of love to your children. Potential that might not be there right now, but that you can see as a mother. I'm going to challenge you next time when you're in difficult situations, have some creative faith and be courageous. Begin to pray with your family. Begin to pray with your children and be that courageous woman that is willing to change the future. I challenge you. Let's change the future and let's make this upcoming generation and this generation the most impactful generation we've ever seen. But we don't just need men. We need women that have that faith. We need women that have that courage. Summit Church, let's push forward together as men and women to make a difference in our world. God bless you.
beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is, nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus.
Didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven down. Where sin was great, your love was greater. What can separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus.
Your name is powerful. Your name is Death could not hold you. The veil tore before you. You silenced the blows of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom. Yours is the glory. Yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is. Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom. Yours is the glory. Yours is the name above all names. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom. Yours is the glory. Yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is. Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I would like to appreciate each one of the moms and women that is watching us today. As I said, you can always be a spiritual mom to someone. I know God is going to use you in a mighty way. For all the children out there, I'm going to ask you to please take care of your mom. Send her a gift, send her some flowers, send her some food. Make sure you take care of her because they are a gift from God. Enjoy the rest of your day. Continue to stay connected with us. We love you, and I pray blessings over your life and over your family. We'll see you soon. God bless.